So it's been 2 years since God of War came out and took the world by storm. As such, the PlayStation blog yesterday on 420 Bra talked all about the new things that are coming to God of War in terms of merchandise. But it makes sense for Sony to celebrate this game because it was a critical and commercial success, and it won Game of the Year across many various gaming outlets. And rightfully so. I think it was a phenomenal experience, and I'd be hard-pressed to hear anybody have genuine criticisms about the game that really did ultimately hinder their experience. I think it was a phenomenal thing. And a lot of people feel the same way I do. That's why Sony's talking about it, because look, we're in quarantine right now. What better way than to put their God of War on the greatest hits list right there to get you to buy their game? And what better way to drum up more excitement for a game that already sold a zillion copies by releasing some new pieces of merchandise. Now, this is where my criticism really starts to hit PlayStation hard. I have not been a fan of their PlayStation Gear store. I talked a lot about this when I did their initial review of their revamping about a year ago. I was very critical of the store primarily because I felt their selection of merchandise was very lackluster compared to things that you could get at Hot Topic or at ThinkGeek or at other vendors, really, honestly. I mean, I would argue that the Target toy aisle, which has some of the PlayStation stuff there, is almost as holistically, representative of PlayStation brands as their own store is. Now, yes, they do have some of the exclusive rights on some of the Kojima shirts and some of the other big tentpole franchises they have, but it just doesn't really wow me. And unfortunately, it seems like Sony didn't watch my video, because here we are again, going to talk about some very odd marketing choices that Sony has elected to make. So they do wrap everything up in the nice PlayStation blog, and they talk all about God of War and how, it's a celebration of Kratos and his son Atreus, and they show off some of the beautiful art of the game and some wonderful screenshots of things we got to see and experience for ourselves. And yes, it was fun. And just reading through this, there's a little bit of nostalgia, definitely. But two things that they highlighted in particular is a Kratos God of War life-size bust, which I'm going to get to in just a second. And the second thing that they talked about was some unique artwork. So let's go ahead and start with the Kratos bust. Now, this is branded out, even though it's officially Sony licensed. It's made by a company, Gaming Heads. I have heard of them before. They do a lot of other things. They were the ones who were given the rights to the God of War Kratos bust. First of all, you're probably going to immediately notice that this thing is $800. What an absolute ripoff, first of all. If it's life-size for $800 and it's 7 feet tall or whatever the hell how tall Kratos is, and it's not a bust, it's an actual statue, maybe then people might pull the trigger. But the problem with a bust, and most people will agree, it doesn't give you a full sense of scale because it cuts them off at the shoulders. You don't get to see the broad chest. You don't really get to experience the magnitude and the just ruthlessness that is Kratos. So they went ahead with a bust, obviously to cut down on cost because they cut down on the model. But let's go ahead and take a look at this thing. Now, it sits at 25 inches tall, which is a pretty respectable size. That's just an inch over 2 feet. And they give you some very odd things like Coke cans, because we all, here in America, us gluttonous fat people in America, we measure everything in Coke cans. So this is a 6 Coke can statue. What? Anyways, whatever. We have some nice detailed photos, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So you could see there is a lot of attention to detail in all of the pores around his face. I'm pointing to my face. I'm going to use my mouse. Just follow the mouse, boys and girls. You could see the pores on his face here. You could see the wrinkles under his eyes, the nice war paint there, his eyebrows, and then this nice scar that he has. And as part of his beard. And I'm going to click through a few more of these pictures. But one of the things that I think really kind of starts to make this thing not feel ultra authentic is the fact that this material is just all the same material and it's sculpted. Now, I don't expect them to go out and get a wig. I mean, Kratos is bald, but I don't expect them to go out and get hair, to actually have hair for the eyebrows and hair for the beard. But I can tell you that when I played the game on my PlayStation 4 Pro with my fancy-dancy HDR TV, I definitely got much more wisps of his beard and definitely much more wisps of just like his armor and the fur that he wore. And as you know, you got different pieces of gear and how he swung his weapon and more fluidity. Obviously, it's a bust. It is meant to be a static piece of statue. It doesn't move. It doesn't walk around or anything like that. But when you just have the same material and all you're doing is painting it different material and trying to shave it to give it the representation of motion, I think it does the exact opposite. And it just looks like it's tacked on. It looks like they took a bust of a dude's head and then they went and they found like a beard and they just kind of like bolted the beard on. And then they went and found this like piece of armor and they kind of bolted that on top. It just doesn't give the impression that it's all one thing. Now, I do like that they did something smart. With the base, they put in those nice Norse symbols that you saw scattered throughout the world. Thankfully, it doesn't say God of War on it, like we didn't know that or anything. And that's something that I always like to beat up with on these statues, where I say, you know, the base sucks. So the base doesn't look bad, but then, I don't know, maybe it's because the way they do the armor too. You have this little piece right here of flesh that pops out, and it just doesn't flow well. I think they probably should have stopped it there. I don't know why they decided to give more body below it. It's like part of his six-pack, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I'm not a big fan of this, in case you couldn't tell, but I'm definitely not a fan of that price. But if you want one, there is a limited edition right now. I think they said there's 500 of them that are going to be made. Yep, 500 units only. They got, some little details here if you want to read about it. And you can pre-order it. They want $80 up front, non-refundable. So if you change your mind later, oh well. I say this with every collector edition. If it's something you think you're absolutely interested in, you better do it, because this probably will sell out. I don't think it's going to sell out soon. At this price point, you can get full representative statues of figures like the Lich King, or of Thrall, or other really notable heroes over at the Blizzard store. Bethesda even has some really nice full statues to consider as well. So keep that in mind before you jump on this one, but I wanted to give my due diligence and talk about it. The other one seems a little bit more economical. It's a poster from Lineage Studios. They do a lot of prints and stuff as well. Sony's partnered with them to release this really nice 18 by 24 print called The Council of Valkyries. And you could see here with Kratos and his son standing around. If you played the game like me and you wanted to be a completionist, you remember spending a lot of time fighting the last few Valkyries because they were ridiculously powerful. Especially Sigrun, which even says right here, Sigrun, the Queen of the Valkyries, at its center. And there she is right there. She killed me more times than I can count. However, it's a really cool pose. You got Kratos and his son, kind of in a nice battle pose there with the Valkyries kind of standing around them. What they're doing with this one is a little bit different. They're calling it an open edition. Unlike the other statue that was limited to 500 things, this artwork is going to be unlimited only from April 20th through May 20th. So 1 month. So as many pre-orders as they can squeeze in 1 month, they're going to do so. And they're going to print it. It's going to be an 18 by 24 poster. After May 20th, they're going to stop the production of this. They're going to stop the sales of this. I just realized. Sorry, I'm sitting here yapping. Let's do this. There we go. They're going to stop the production of this. They're going to stop the sales of this. And they're going to basically say, okay, that's it. No more. And then they're going to hand number them. I guess that's supposed to be something that's really nice, that it's got a hand numbering on it. I don't know. I understand that they're trying to do something cool. I like it. It's a unique poster, but $50 for a poster, especially one that is not really special, in the sense that you can buy God of War posters right now and just hang them up on your wall. They're not going to be limited in production, but I don't think that when you basically do an open edition, it really adds any sense of, like, oh, this is cool. This is one of 3 of these ever made. I love original artwork. I have original artwork all on the walls around me. Yes, you pay a lot for original because you're the only one. And if you want to do some sort of production, I understand that too. But having it just basically mass printed to everybody in the world doesn't really make it seem like it's worth a $50 item. And I guess just as a whole, going back to my original point, to close out this video here, my original point, honestly, I don't really understand why PlayStation puts such a financial emphasis on some of their stuff. It just doesn't warrant that kind of price. And I just gushed and oohed and awed about how phenomenal God of War is, because it is phenomenal. But that nostalgia is not going to make people run out and buy a $700 bust or a $50 poster. Sony, you guys got to get it through your heads. You have some hot products. You have phenomenal franchises. You have very defined and very loyal fans who are eagerly awaiting for anything you guys produce. That said, lower it down a little bit, will you? We're in the middle of a recession, most likely a depression at this point. People are not going to be jumping to buy a $700 statue. Honestly, releasing this now is just plain tacky. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments below. Let me know your thoughts on these 2 pieces of PlayStation gear. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.